In a small, forgotten town, there stood an old, abandoned mansion. No one dared to enter it, for it was said to be cursed. The townsfolk whispered of a grand piano that played itself every night at midnight. And every time the haunting melody filled the air, someone from the town would disappear without a trace. Years ago, a family moved into the mansion, unaware of its dark history. The father, mother, and their 2 children, Mark and little Emily, found the dusty piano in the grand hall. It was a magnificent instrument, though its keys were worn, and the wood was chipped with age. The father, an old music lover, decided to keep it, thinking it would bring some life into the cold, empty house. The first night, the family heard the piano playing a sad, eerie tune, but when they checked the hall, no one was there. The father dismissed it as the wind, but the children were frightened. They claimed to hear whispers accompanying the music, calling out their names. The next night, the melody returned, more intense and sorrowful. The father went to investigate, but by morning, he was gone. The mother searched the house frantically, but there was no sign of him. The townspeople only shook their heads, telling her that the house had claimed its first victim. Desperate, the mother decided to leave the house with her children, but the piano played once more that night. This time, it was the mother who vanished, leaving Mark and Emily alone. Mark, now the man of the house at only 12 years old, tried to protect his little sister. But each night, the piano played, and the house seemed to grow darker, colder. Mark's fear grew with each passing night, knowing that soon, he too would disappear. And then, the fateful night came. The piano began to play its mournful tune, louder and more demanding than ever. Mark felt an irresistible pull towards the grand hall. Emily clung to him, crying, begging him not to go, but he knew he had no choice. The music was calling him. As he approached the piano, he saw a shadowy figure seated at the keys. It was tall, cloaked in darkness, with long, bony fingers dancing over the keys. The figure turned to Mark, revealing hollow eyes that seemed to absorb all light. The figure whispered, "Your time has come." The next morning, the mansion was silent. Emily was the only one left. She sat alone in the grand hall, staring at the piano, waiting. She knew it was only a matter of time before the music called her too. But the night the piano began to play, a man appeared at the door. He was drawn to the house, compelled by the stories he'd heard, and the strange feeling that something terrible was about to happen. He entered the mansion, and as he did, the music stopped. The house was eerily quiet, save for the soft sound of a little girl crying. He found Emily in the grand hall, sitting by the piano, her small hands trembling. She looked up at him with tear-filled eyes and said, "It's coming for me." The man tried to comfort her, but as the clock struck midnight, the piano keys moved on their own, playing a frantic, desperate tune. The shadowy figure rose from the piano bench, its hollow eyes fixed on Emily. The man realized he was too late. The figure reached out, its bony fingers wrapping around Emily. She screamed, but her voice was drowned out by the music. The man tried to pull her away, but the figure's grip was too strong. In a flash, the girl and the figure vanished, leaving the man alone in the silent, empty house. He fled the mansion, but the haunting melody followed him, echoing in his mind. He was the last to see the cursed house, for the next morning, it had collapsed into ruins, as if it had never existed. The man knew the truth, no one could escape the cursed melody of the old piano. And now, he feared that one day, the music would come for him too.